Hi, this is the Mauser m96. Now, it's the model 1996, not the Swedish Mauser as you probably find if you actually search for m96. And this was the first of one of the modern breed of straight pulls. Now, straight pulls have been around for years in military configurations and all sorts of different variations, and there's quite a lot of just ordinary K98 Mausers that are modified to work as a straight pull. But this one here was a wee bit different in that it doesn't require the effort of the old style straight pulls to cock. You can just close out just using your thumb, and it works quite well. When I bought this, I'd just come back from Europe, and I thought I'd want something European. I'd actually gone over to Europe. One of the things I was going to do when I was over there was buy a Steyr rifle, Mannlicher. But it turned out they were more expensive in Austria than they were in my hometown. I'm not quite sure why that was. So anyhow, I come back and had a choice of buying a Mannlicher or one of these for about half the price. When I bought this back in 1996, it was about the same price as a Tikka rifle or one of the Flasher Remingtons. So it wasn't overly expensive. And we'll have a look at it all later on the bolt and how it all goes together, but the theory was it was switch barrel and straight pull bolt. The bolt actually locks into the barrel rather than the receiver. Quite a smooth action. When I originally bought it, it was a shiny finish on it, sort of like polyurethane or something, which wasn't very durable and used to scratch every time you put it near a rock. So I refinished the stock on it. The theory behind the straight pull was it's faster. The only thing wrong with this one here is you can't reach some of the more modern ones, you can't reach the bolt while working the trigger. It's just a wee bit too far. If you're a monkey, you might be able to. Now, as far as I know, they only made these rifles for about 2 or 3 years, or not even that. They're quite a commercial. They're probably a technological success, but a commercial failure. And I understand they sort of made them more for the US market, and as a result they didn't really take off in the United States. I bought this one because it's in 308 and it had open sights. So my particular setup, now those of you who are well read on the way I set up a rifle will know that in a big game rifle it's good to have the scope mounted as low as possible, and you'll see that is very low, and you're able to do that because you've got no bolt to worry about. It's just straight back. And on mine I've got it set up on low loophole rings, and the scope is quick detachable. And you put it back in. I found over the years that it returns to zero. I don't know whether those rings are actually guaranteed to return to zero, but from my experience they do. And at the time I bought it like that because I was doing a wee bit of hunting with the dog, and when I was hunting in the thick bush I like to not have a scope on it, just so you can see what your dog's doing if there's a deer around or something. And so you can use the open sights over top of those mounts quite well. They're just the lever on, lever off ones, like that. They seem to work quite well. The actual mounts are made for a Remington 700. So that's how I've got it set up. Now, when I bought this rifle, there's a couple of things that become apparent quite early. Was that it's got quite tight tolerances, and you'll see later on when we have a look at the bolt one of the reasons for that. But the other thing was, whenever I took it into the heavy bush, and it's quite a lot of moisture around or anything like that, the stock would just swell ever so slightly, and it made it quite difficult to pull the bolt back and forth. Now the solution to that was quite simple. I just shaved a wee bit off there, sanded it off. It only just required a very little bit, and resealed the wood and the stock inside. Now inside the stock, and we'll see that again, we'll see that later as well, it's fully bedded, and also the mounting bolts, the bolts that hold it to the stock, are also pillar bedded as well, and an aluminium sort of block. So as a result of that, a very accurate rifle. Now most rifles I had, or I have, by hand loading I can cut the size of the groups in half, but with this rifle it seemed to, as long as you use reasonably good quality ammunition, I couldn't really improve it on that very much. And my go-to ammo was just like the Federal Classic or Norma. Norma was my preferred ammunition when they used to load their bullets with just soft nose rather than the green tip stuff. And so I used to use 150 grainers in it, but it shot to 180 grainers equally as well. And when I was using it with open sights, I used to use 180 grain bullets with it just so I could tell them apart. And it suited the way that the open sights were set up better. The other thing that used to happen is, and you'll see it again when you look at the bolt later, is that it's quite a fussy action, and also a tight chamber. So when I was doing a lot of shooting with it, I bought a lot of second-hand brass, and you used to find that just a quick resize wasn't really good enough. You had to actually get it right back to factory dimensions. Otherwise you had a wee bit of trouble getting the cases in the chamber, and it was like that also with some cheaper brands of new ammunition. But as long as, now because I don't do so much shooting, I just use brand new brass when I load up. And there's never a problem with that. But you'd find that if you've got a wee bit of dust in your action or something like that, you're not used to bind up a wee bit, because it's a pretty slick action as it is. And the reason for that is because the tight tolerances it's made to. But the other side of that is, you get some dust in the action, and it starts causing problems. So once I dealt with all that with it, and resealed the stock and everything, it's been pretty much trouble free. The only other thing you have problems with is the extractor, and I'll explain that later when we have a look at the bolt a wee bit closer. Now the theory behind the straight pull is that you don't take it away from your eye, so like that. And as I said before, the only problem with this one is it'd be much better if you was made a wee bit closer. And I'm 6 foot tall, and it's just the right length away from my arm. Now the other touted advantage of having a rifle set up like this, if you're left-handed, you just bang, bang. Now I'm not left-handed, so it's a bit awkward for me, but for a left-hander it'd be quite simple just to work the bolt like that. A wee bit easier than using the bolt action and reaching over the top or whatever they do when you use a right-handed rifle. Yeah. Now the other thing that we used to have a wee bit of problem with was if you were walking along and you had it down, the rifle down like this, and you had a jacket on or something, quite often you'd shut it and it would catch your clothes in here. Just a minor thing, but it did happen a couple of times. So apart from that, the rifle's been pretty trouble free. I've had it since 1996, and if I was to put a nick in the stock for every animal I shot with it, wouldn't have any stock left. It's probably, I don't know how many animals it shot. There'd be maybe 1,000, something like that. I used it a bit for goat shooting and that kind of thing, as well as deer stalking. So I know it's shot over 100 deer and a few other animals. So we'll have a look at the bolt. Now to take the bolt out, just bring it back like that, loosen up the Allen key. Just slides out like that. Yeah. Now I don't know if you can pick it up on here, but there's 2 rows of locking lugs on the bolt, and I think there's 16 altogether. So from that point of view, it's fairly strong action, and that's one reason why it's a lot easier than the old style straight pulls to shut, because the mounter has to turn to lock and it's only quite small. Now one thing about the bolt is that when you take it out you don't want to decock it, because it's a real trick to actually get it back into a position where you can put it back in the rifle. And the instruction book I had was only in German. It's quite lucky I can speak a little bit of German and could read enough of the manual to be able to work out how to recock the thing again, and it's a real act. So just one thing to remember, if you've got one or you're thinking of buying one, and you ever take the bolt out, don't decock it while you've got it out. And the other thing I've had problems with is, not very often, but if you can just see that, and I'm not sure whether you can, but the extractor on it, the claw is very, very small, and it's only actually held in the action in the bolt by the pressure of a spring. Now, in normal use it's never given me a problem, but I've lost it once when I was cleaning it, and all I was doing was just brushing the bolt with the toothbrush, kind of brush. And the other time is if you double charge it, if you've already got a bullet in the chamber and you do a big panic and shove another bullet up and behind it, it'll pop the extractor off. Now I lost it, but when I took the rifle to pieces I found it in the bottom of the magazine well. While we're on that, the magazine's blind magazine, you just load from the top. Yeah. So I've taken the barrel out of the action, and you'll see from that the barrel's actually just clamped in there. You take those caps off there and it's just got a Allen key. So to disassemble the whole thing you just need 2 different size Allen keys, one to release the bolt and one for take it out of the stock. In theory you can just change the barrels. The barrel's actually fully floated. Yeah, and it's got the block down there that it uses for the recoil stop and everything. And the safety's just the standard 3-position safety. As I said, when I bought it, I had to re-oil inside of the stock, but if you see from there where it mounts, it's got a bit of epoxy in there for mounting it, and for the front and for the back it's got an aluminium block there that it mounts through. I suppose you could say it's technically pillar beaded, and the magazine's just a spring loaded thing. Yeah. That's about it really, there's nothing too complicated to it. So I put it back together. It takes about 2 minutes to stick everything back in place. Just like with most rifles, you don't over tighten the screws, tighten them up evenly, that sort of thing. One in the front, one in the back. Yeah, not too much involved there. When Mauser were finished with this action, they actually offloaded the technology to Heim, I think it was. Yeah, that's about all I've got to say. It's just an interesting rifle, and as I say, I'll probably never sell it. I'll probably keep this one to hand on to my grandkids or something, if you let her hunt by then.